This is Kirsten Howard and Allie Goldstein of Adaptation Stories. On June 12th and 13th, we visited Louisville, Kentucky. Mike Heyman has been planting trees in the Seneca Gardens neighborhood of Louisville, Kentucky for 25 years. His friends call him Louisville's Johnny Appleseed. So walking around the Seneca Gardens neighborhood is like being in an arboretum.
I had done a vigilante planting at the bottom. That was before guerrilla planting was the name. My neighbors and I went to them. I said, let's all put our money together. We bought a tree for $300, put it in the traffic island. Then we went to the city and said, we'd like our money back because it's on your property. And they were so confused. We did red oaks down the street, red oaks and red maples back then. Here's a cut-leaf beech, cut-leaf European beech. It's going to be a shade tree, and next to it's a red maples. Did the dogwood too. I planted a lot of trees in my neighborhood. I planted 1,000 trees in a neighborhood of 300 homes. So that's an average of 3 trees per house.
Dr. Margaret Carrero, another local tree advocate and a researcher at the University of Louisville, joined us for a walk around Mike's shady neighborhood. She's thought a lot about how climate change will affect Louisville.
Climate change concerns here are temperature, flood, rainfall events like crazy, and drought. Those are our top 3 issues. Unlike, we're certainly not going to have sea level rise.
According to Margaret, today Louisville gets about 30 days above 90 degrees every year.
Towards the end of this coming century, we're due to have 100 days above 90, with something like 2 or 3, maybe even 4 weeks of that being above 100.
Oh, man.
Yes, and you can imagine how the urban heat island exacerbates all that.
The urban heat island occurs in many U.S. cities where pavement and other factors cause the metro area to be much hotter than its surroundings. Dr. Brian Stone, a researcher at Georgia Tech University, recently came out with an analysis that shows Louisville has the fastest growing urban heat island in the country. Many people point to the lack of trees downtown as a big part of the problem. Even though Mike's neighborhood is forested, only about 27% of Louisville has tree cover and only 10% of downtown is canopied. This is well below the 40% tree cover that American Forests recommends for healthy urban areas.
My father was a highway contractor, and unfortunately, I've watched Louisville be paved. Surface parking lots are all over downtown. The National Trust had their convention here many years ago now, and there were so many of them that went out and walked around and said, Jesus Christ, you can park any car you want, but where are your buildings?
That's Monica Orr, a member of the Louisville Metro Tree Advisory Commission, which was created by the mayor to develop policies to better care for the city's trees. We joined her for some lemonade on her porch in the Cherokee Triangle neighborhood. The trees she has planted in her own yard over the years certainly keep her cool.
So you've never had air conditioning here?
No.
Have you ever wanted it?
Well, no, because I'm kind of a claustrophobe. In the summer when it gets too hot, the dog and I sleep out here.
So what are people in Louisville doing to fix the problem? On private property, Mike is spreading his green thumb to others, teaching and encouraging other neighborhood tree planters.
There's another man in the Dundee neighborhood. He wanted to plant his neighborhood because he said it was 20 degrees hotter on his street where there were no trees than it was on Dundee, the one block over. So last winter he put 100 trees in his neighborhood.
Monica explained what the Tree Commission has been up to.
The tree committee finally decided that the first thing that we had to do was some kind of survey to find out what we had. And what we learned was we've got far too few species of trees. We've got too many maples, and unfortunately we have a whole lot of ash trees, and that raised a big red flag.
The red flag she's referring to is the emerald ash borer, a pest that has decimated many ash forests across the northern parts of the country and has now reached Kentucky. The commission proposed a no-net loss policy for trees, which would require that the city and private developers replace any trees that come down. The mayor said no. He claims that more data is needed about the number, species, and health of existing trees in Louisville. Monica doesn't agree.
I think the only information that you need on which to base a no-net loss policy is the urban heat island fix that we're in.
Another big issue is the power lines overhead. Big trees can obstruct and damage them, especially with storm events like the tornado of 1974, during which more than 2,000 trees came down in Cherokee Park, and more recently, the 2009 ice storm. One method for managing the conflicts between trees and power lines is slingshot cutting, basically cutting the tree canopy into what looks like a slingshot so that the power line can go between the branches. But this creates health problems for the trees.
We've got power line conflicts. LG&E is coming through now to do their trimming cycle, but it's really a butchery cycle because somehow power companies only think of the bottom line. They don't think of tree health ever.
We met with Claude Stevens, who works at the Bernheim Arboretum. He's developing a list of utility trees that will coexist with power lines more effectively. We're at a dinner party, so excuse the noise in the background.
For utility trees, for example, we identify trees that would be good solutions for areas close to overhead utility lines because either they prune easy or they don't grow tall or, other conditions that make them right.
Mm-hmm. Overall, it seems the guerrilla and private neighborhood arboretum efforts are the main way trees are getting in the ground right now.
There is some satisfaction in getting a tree in the ground, especially if it's through a guerrilla movement, like in the dead of night.
Even Monica has her own methods for helping with guerrilla tree maintenance around the city.
Going around town, I keep a little hand hoe in my trunk because I see tree volcanoes. They pile, many inches of mulch up around the tree trunk. It's a way to kill a tree and invite disease. Well,
it rots the bark.
You mulch only 2 inches and you mulch away from the trunk.
Mike knows that more is needed to significantly mitigate Louisville's growing urban heat island. So the question is, where do they go from here?
If we can multiply it by 10 times and then multiply it again by 10 times, then we'll start to accomplish.
Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone.